I think the problem is that the whole closeness argument isn't really well defined what close means. If there was a planet where half the people were real people and half the people were brains in vats, and they interacted in some way where they couldn't tell who was who, then the closest alternative would be that you're a brain in a vat without hands.
Nozick would agree with you. Absolutely, yes.
And the problem is, we don't know that there isn't some other planet out there where everybody's a brain in a vat, and otherwise just like this one. We don't know that the brain in the vat hypothesis isn't actually very close to the one we're experiencing right now.
So yes, so Nozick would agree that if half the people in the world were handless brains in vats, believing they had hands,
sure,
and we were aware of that, and then I was to think, how would things be if I didn't have hands? Maybe the right thing to think about was if I didn't have hands, then I'd probably be one of those handless brains in a vat. I mean, most people who don't have hands are handless brains in a vat. And then I would still be believing I had hands. And so then I wouldn't know that I have hands. So Nozick would say, absolutely, yeah, if you started to believe that, then you would start to be rightly skeptical that you had hands. You would start saying, yeah, I don't know that I have hands. Thus far, Nozick is absolutely with you. What he wouldn't say is the last bit of what you said, what he wouldn't agree with, which is that for us, this is a nearby possibility. He'd say that whether or not something is a nearby possibility doesn't depend on what you think about it. It depends on whether you know that there are brains in the vat out there. It just depends on how things would be if you didn't have hands. It doesn't depend on how you think things would be if you didn't have hands. It depends on how things actually would be if you didn't have hands. What would have happened if you just dropped the mic just now? You have a pretty good sense that what would have happened if you just dropped the mic just now is there would have been a noise, right? And you'd have picked it up, and there would have been a giggle that went out across the class, so forth and so forth. Another possible thing, another possible scenario in which you drop the mic just now is that you drop the mic and it explodes, and we're all sort of shocked, and then, I don't know, bats start flying into the auditorium, and that's a possible thing, right? That's a possible world in which you drop the mic just now. We have some intuitive sense that the former world, the former situation is closer, is more relevantly close than the latter situation, right? And Nozick is saying, surely, when you consider what would have happened if I didn't have hands, like the relevantly nearest situation is one in which I don't have hands because I've had an accident or something, right? It's not one in which, fantastically, there are brains in vats and having simulated experiences of having hands. That's his idea.